Yes, yeah.
No, I mean like which person? I know it's the Access Middle School.
Me.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Is it working now? I think we're there.
Mr. Corona says it's
No, I
on.
mean like which person? I know it's the Access Middle School.
Me.
Okay.
I think it's
We are
working.
streaming.
Yeah, it's working. It's working
It's
now.
working, but there's like this huge delay,
That's
and
totally fine.
it's really
That's normal.
spooky.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, welcome everyone to the Access Academy 8th grade promotion for the 8th grade class of
Which person? I
8th grade class of 2021.
Yeah.
Please give a warm welcome to our principal, Miss Ginger Taylor.
Hello, and good evening to our Access community. Welcome to our second annual 8th grade graduation promotion ceremony. Never in a million years would I have ever imagined saying second annual virtual. I want to give recognition and a huge thank you to Jane Ann Peterson for her dedication to this promotion ceremony, as well as all of the projects and roles she has tackled over the years. After 15 years with students at Access, Jane Ann is moving their youngest student on to high school. Jane Ann, you can never really leave Access. Jane Ann and school counselor Devin Harkness have cultivated a great team of 8th graders to put together tonight's ceremony. Thank you to Adri, Coral, Charlie, Oscar, and Colfax. To our parents, guardians, grandparents, siblings, and other extended family, as well as friends. You have supported this group of incredible rising high school freshmen through the craziest 15 months of their lives. We have watched on cameras the impossible challenges you have all faced while trying to balance your job, support your student, learn how to do school on a flat screen, how to operate Google Meets and Zoom, and try to make sense of a new learning management platform called Canvas. You all are truly superheroes. And to our amazing Access team of educators, I don't have words to describe this school year from your perspective. You have gone above and beyond. You have been adaptive and creative as you've stayed focused on doing what is best for students. I have always shared that Access educators work above the bar, but these past 15 months have been something else. I appreciate each and every one of you. Summer starts next week. And to our 54 Access 8th graders, 90% of which of you are staying in PPS to attend high school, you are a true inspiration. 4 of you have been at Access since first grade. It's time to take this next step. I believe you when you offer that your career paths are to be a neuroscientist, a writer, a comic artist, a paleontologist, to work for NASA, to be an actor, own a bakery, and to become an archaeologist. You want to live in places like sunny California, Iceland, or London. And my favorite choice is from Yunji, who shares that she wants to live around the world. And I believe you all will do these things. I really do. Your fortitude, resilience, ingenuity, and academic drive have carried you to this point. You have not skipped a beat during this crazy global pandemic, and you have adapted to virtual school. You've had 4 different schedules this school year, learned to take advantage of office hours as if you were in college, and found ways to connect and socialize using technology like no one ever could have imagined. The self-advocacy skills and independence you've developed this past year have enabled you to persist in your high school courses and earn credit in science, math, and world language to the tune of 223 combined credits. Quite an amazing feat. Super impressive. Now, my hope is that everyone has been able to find us on the YouTube channel, is settled in, and ready to enjoy our celebration of this group of amazing young people, the class of 2025. Koufax will be our MC tonight. Thank you, and on with the show.
Hello. As Miss Ginger Taylor stated, I will be your MC tonight, Colfax Richard, yet again for about the fourth time. I really was just forced into this position post haste at the very last minute, and I don't really have any idea what I'm doing, and I have absolutely no scripts planned out. So please give a hand for Sophia Roche, Oscar Jones, and Knox Orchard presenting some tributes to our leaving teachers this year. Give it a hand, folks.
Okay. Thank you everyone for coming to the 8th grade promotion. None of us would be here promoting moving on to high school if it weren't for our amazing teachers. One of those teachers is Bridget O'Hagan. I had the luck of having Miss O'Hagan for both 4th and 5th grade, and she was honestly the most energetic, enthusiastic person I have ever met. Miss O'Hagan, you brought so much energy to every class every day. It made school so much better. We as students can tell when teachers truly care about us, our education, and our lives outside of school. Everyone could tell that you cared. Everyone could tell because you were so kind and respectful, which I'm sure wasn't easy while being surrounded by a group of hyper 9 and 10-year-olds. For those who don't remember or weren't in her class, Miss O'Hagan went out of her way, always going the extra mile for us. On Fridays, if we had earned enough class points, Miss O'Hagan would bring homemade brownies for us. She sometimes brought us popcorn. I remember how for 2 years, Miss O'Hagan hyped us up about something she wanted to show us. She told us that no one except her got to see it, which naturally made us even more excited. And let me tell you, it was well deserved. I'm talking, of course, about her impressions, namely the monkey impression. It happened on the last day of 5th grade, something to make us laugh and always remember, as if we would ever forget. It was glorious, it was silly, it was magnificent, and it was a side of a teacher that you usually don't get to see. Sadly, at the end of this demonstration, Miss O'Hagan made us take an oath of silence and never speak of this to anyone. I fear I have already overstepped the boundaries of that agreement, so I will have to leave the rest of it to your imagination, and I hope that Miss O'Hagan isn't too offended that I disclosed this much. This is all to say, Miss O'Hagan, you were so dedicated, funny, and caring, everything anyone would want in a teacher. I hope you know how much you impact your students. Our school experience was enriched by your presence, and you are such a valued member of our community. Access is sad to see you go.
Okay, so it's my turn, I guess. Okay, full disclosure, I wrote this speech today. This year at Access, which has been so challenging to and telling of the students that experienced it, is made harder still by the fact that we will be saying goodbye to another cherished Access teacher, Mr. Lanners. Our school certainly won't be the same without him. The hallways will seem empty without the bustle of activity and peals of laughter that radiate from his classroom as students learn about math, science, and yes, bikes. I, like most Access middle school students, only had Mr. Lanners for 1 year. But in that year, I learned about the dwindling wolf population of Isle Royale, the statistics behind a fight to the death between different March Madness mascots, and the key method to mastering the art of allowing a Barbie tied to a bungee cord to almost get her dome cracked on the hard, cold tiles of a school building floor while living to tell the tale. For anyone who has never had the opportunity to have him as a teacher, you can probably tell by now that Mr. Lanners isn't the conventional type. In the spring of 2019, between April 7th and 12th to be exact, Mr. Lanners chaperoned one of the 2 Access outdoor school trips that year, which happened to be at Camp Angelos, where I went. It was an interesting experience, designed to help 6th graders discover their passions for the natural world. I was no exception to this, and although I already had such interests, I discovered via the time allotted to us for rec activities on 3 of the 6 days that by far my favorite thing to do outside is to rip clumps of invasive ivy off of trees whilst insulting the seeds that they sprang from. To this day, I cannot walk by somebody's yard without having to fight off the urge to rip it apart for signs of ivy. Such a trip wouldn't have been the same without Mr. Lanners to chaperone it. All in all, Mr. Lanners has always been an integral part of Access, and while we will survive without him, it will never feel the same without the teacher who's given so much to our school that it can flourish. I can speak for all of Access when I say thank you, Mr. Lanners.
Hi. So my lighting is a little bit scuffed, and I didn't know about this speech until today in hybrid, but I'm here to talk about one of my favorite teachers at Access, Mr. Coste. As most of you probably know, this is Mr. Coste's last year at Access. He's one of the most lighthearted, kind, and understanding teachers to have taught at the school in the nearly 6 years that I've been here. He makes sure to begin all of his classes with a greeting for each and every student individually, and possibly unbeknownst to him, this makes many Mondays much more manageable, and I'm sure many of my classmates feel the same way. It's obvious how much he cares about the subject he's teaching and the students he's teaching it to. And I've learned a lot more than I thought I could learn through a computer in my time with him. He never singles anyone out or makes anybody feel uncomfortable in his virtual classes or his physical classroom, and he somehow finds the time in his day to be open for one-on-one office hours with anyone who needs them anytime they need him. I think that we will all sorely miss him and his occasionally obtrusive chickens that always lighten up math class with their loud clucking from somewhere off camera, and I hope he finds success and fulfillment wherever his career takes him next.
Thank you, Knox. Before we get to our community service and recognitions, there's one more tribute that we need to give, and that is a tribute to Miss Taylor, our principal for Access. She is moving on to retirement after this year, and we will sorely miss her. She came to us at a time when Access needed a strong leader more than it has ever needed a strong leader, I think. And I'm not sure why Knox is still there. She has done so much for our school in the brief time that she has been with us. She has helped us pull up and kind of restore ourselves to the glory that is Access and allowing students to flourish in ways that they have not for a long time, perhaps, at our school. And there are so many ways that she has supported students directly and indirectly throughout her time with us, and we are going to miss her dearly. Another thing that we wanted to talk about is a few community service awards. There are a few students who have completed a community service program, spending their free time volunteering, and those students are Lucas Jong, Olive Babb, and Aiden Lawler, who are in 4th, 5th, and 7th grade. And then 8th graders Jackson Chaddock, Coral Platt, and Oscar Jones have completed the Access Academy Community Service Program. And in addition to that, Jackson Chaddock and Coral Platt completed that program all the years they have attended Access. These are just a few of the students who have put their heart and soul and time into Access, into volunteering with Access. Many other students have done tremendous amounts of volunteer work, possibly helping out younger students, possibly organizing fundraisers or other special events for our school. There have been so many things that students have done, and I wish we could recognize everyone tonight for that. So a big hand for Miss Taylor and for all of the students who have done so much for our school.
Thank you for all those heartwarming, yet albeit somewhat rushed speeches about our lovely, lovely staff and principal, who are getting out of this school while they still can. Up next, we do have choral performing Georgia on My Mind on the piano, and our very own Amy McBride performing a speech about something.
Wow, great job, Coral, and everyone who's spoken tonight. Hi, everybody. Welcome, families and teachers and staff, and especially eighth graders. So eighth graders, do you remember last year, so long ago, and we read the crossover? And there's the part when in the crossover, the coach is reading to the team from The Art of War. He says, a winning strategy is learning to adapt to changing conditions. If nothing else, this year has taught us all to adapt. You have all shown resiliency, patience, and cooperation during very challenging times and very challenging conditions. You have maintained relationships with each other through Zoom, Discord, Google Meets, and the ever terrifying breakout room. Some of you are competing in nationals next week for NHD. Just a quick shout out to Sophie, Coral, Knox, Baxter, Jackson, Brennan, Grant, and Milan. And some of you have achieved victory by getting out of bed in time for class every day. And we are proud of you all. This class of Access 2021 has transformed Access Academy forever. From your enthusiastic work with Saga, what is Saga going to do without this class? To your commitment to discovering your identities and to finding your true names. This year, we dove into some pretty heavy topics together in US history, and you each showed critical thinking, compassion, empathy, and intelligence. I just really want to encourage you to keep engaging in these conversations and look for the movements and the leaders who will continue the work that you believe in. And if you can't find them, become them. You are all so capable of that. And when you go off to high school in the fall, just some advice for you to take with you. Look for each other in your schools, but also forge new alliances in your strategies. Look for that student eating lunch alone who may need a smart and confident new friend. Reach out to your teachers to let them know who you are. I mean, hey, you all learned how to email your teachers this year. Join a club, try out for a new sport. build sets for the school play. Remember the things that you missed this year and really go for them when you have the opportunity. You guys are going to do great, all of you, and I miss you all already. Oh, and by the way, speaking of books we read last year, it's never too late to return that copy of The Outsiders. Thank you all. We're proud of you.
Thank you for that, Ms. McBride. Up next, we have Piper Powell, Dr. Garcia, Chandri Shore, and Ms. McKinnon.
Hi, everyone. This is very bittersweet, and this is going to be very cheesy. When I came to Access in 3rd grade, I never could have expected the sense of family that the school would provide. I cannot put into words my gratitude for the constant support from the staff and students I have been surrounded with at Access. Recently, my classmates and I had kind of a free period where we got to play games together. And we played this game where one person would interview another person and act like they were famous for some really obscure profession. And the person being interviewed had to guess what their profession was just by the questions they were asked. And it felt very nostalgic because we had played similar games in elementary school together, and it just felt like we had really come full circle. And I remember just being so engaged and entertained. I feel so lucky to have gotten to know all of my classmates and teachers over these past 6 years. Something I really appreciate about Access is how everybody knows everybody, and everybody is rooting for you and will do everything in their power to help you reach success. At Access, you walk down the hallway and you know every face, and you can look at any person in your classroom and remember all the projects you worked on together and the jokes they've made, and you know that you've been there to watch them grow into the person they are. The school has been the thing to bring us all together, even through this past year when we were forced to be apart. I want to say thank you to my friends for spending hours on FaceTime to work on assignments with me. Thank you to our teachers for having patience it took to get us through this year. And thank you to the parents and families that have supported and motivated this year's 8th graders as we've navigated life through the pandemic. I have learned so much from everybody at the school, and I cannot believe that this is the end of this chapter of our lives. I just want to say good luck at high school to all of my classmates, and I'm so proud of all of you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, students, parents, community members. This evening, I want to share with you a story on possibility. So, this story comes from this story begins with a conductor, a philharmonic conductor, and a professor of music. And in this story, he's giving a class, and as part of this class with young musicians, he asks them to write a letter about the similarities between NASA and their life with music. The reason he is asking the students, the young musicians, to write a letter is because he is also about to give a talk at NASA. And he wanted to see what the students would come up with in finding and what similarities they would have between their life with music and NASA. This is what some of the students wrote to NASA scientists. You are the diplomats, the representatives of the world over here. You are going into the nowhere to search and to be intrigued at the smallest inkling of discovery. You are representing us to discover, explore, and find the possibility to escape the box known as Earth and go as far as possible. You have the responsibility to push thinking and ideas beyond limits, into the ethers, through the nothing, into the something. Music is similar to space. It is an exploration, a responsibility to push through the confines of pages of music to go as far and as fast as the mind will work. That was Dave Landstein, age 16. Ashley, age 14, wrote, "The world counts on you to open up new possibilities and discover what we humans can do. The only time when music or space have boundaries is when humans create them. Thank you for keeping the possibilities alive." Very wise words from young musicians. So the conductor and the music professor took these letters to NASA and shared them with NASA engineers and scientists. And this is what NASA scientists wrote back. Thank you for your beautiful and eloquent words of encouragement on space exploration. They so poetically remind us of our grander purpose. Coming from you, explorers of sounds and keepers of the future, they are particularly meaningful. Each of us in our own way works to evoke a greater depth of understanding of our past, present, and future. May your sounds reach the stars. When I hear the message from the scientist, it reminds me of you, our graduates, and I hope that your dreams also reach the stars, especially as we come out of this challenging year. I want you to know that we can start thinking of the possibilities that high school will bring for you. Benjamin Sanders says, we can make a conscious use of our way with words to define new frameworks for possibility that bring out the part of us that is most contributory, most unencumbered, most open to participation. And why not say that is who we really are? As you prepare to go to the next stage of your education, and as we emerge from a very challenging year, I want you to look towards the future and think about possibility. Each of us has that right, that possibility to invent ourselves daily. If a person does not invent herself, she will be invented. So to be bodacious enough to invent ourselves is wise. That was Maya Angelou. Now that the world is opening up again, we can think of all the possibilities, all the travels you want to do, the classes you want to take, the things you want to learn. And so I wish you the best as you move on. And I will not say goodbye this time. It will be to be continued.
Hi, this is Ms. McBride again. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. I'm just jumping back in because I realized I missed a group for NHD, and I really want to recognize these incredible students. Piper, Elliott, Cara, and Fair will also be going to nationals next week for NHD. So thank you, and sorry for the oversight.
Hello. I was waiting for a cue from Colfax, but it seems that it's the time I should be giving my speech. Missing my cue is a bit fitting, actually. When I offered to give this speech, I did it without thinking because I thought I could. I skipped the rehearsal because I was at a party, and I turned the draft of it in late at night. I don't know if Access was a good choice for myself for my last year of school during COVID, or if it would have, in fact, ever been a good choice for me. But what I do know is here I've met some of the people I consider my closest friends. I look forward to taking the bus to and from school, to spending time talking at recess, and to getting together with friends I made through Access outside of school hours. There's a huge gap between elementary school and high school. During middle school, your life should change immeasurably, and you should change with it. When I started 7th grade, the most glaring thing I noticed was how similar it was to 6th. I had the same teachers, the same social circle, and I was dating the same person. For better or worse, Access has not been like that. I have changed, and that's why I would never take back my decision to attend, even if I could go back and do everything over again. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Miss McKinnon here, joining you from our classroom at Lane. So excited to be here. I wanted to say congratulations to all of you 8th graders. You've done a great job this year, making it through a very unpredictable year, a little bit of an unexpected time, and here we are at your promotion. I'm so proud of you. You've all done a great job. I've loved getting to know you over the years. Whether we only got to know each other this year online or whether I've known you since you were, who knows, a little first grader over at Access. I wanted to give a special shout out to some students who participated in math competitions. I think we had Ashley, Faye, Lauren, Neve, Richard, Oliver, and Sophie all participate in some of our math counts. If I remember correctly, Sophie also did math counts competition for those competitions and also helped a ton with that mathazine. So you guys have been great and so awesome. I wish I could be your math teacher forever, but sadly somebody else gets to have all that fun. So have a great summer, have a really awesome last day of school tomorrow, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you again for those speeches. I would like to say again, I don't have a script at all, so I don't really know what to say, but I guess thanks to those speeches, they were also heartwarming, like all the rest of the speeches that we have had, which have also been heartwarming. Up next, we have Milan Cunningham with a musical number, Charlie Jennings with another speech, and then we have a special surprise guest many of us hold near and dear to our hearts. Let's go on to the show, folks.
If I were a rich man, $1 million or two, I'd live in a penthouse in a room with a view. And if I were handsome, those dreams do come true. I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. Wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have. Wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have. Wouldn't have nothing. But I must admit it, the guy you always come through. I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. Yes, I wouldn't be nothing if I didn't have you. I wouldn't know where to go, wouldn't know what to do. I don't have to say it, 'cause we both know it's true. I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. Wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. Wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you.
Oh yeah, guess it's my turn now, right? Yeah. At, before Access, I only had a couple of friends, and I think a lot of like, not all my classmates liked me, or my teachers really. But then I started. Oh, right, it's not my turn. I forgot we have the.
It is your turn. Yeah, it's your turn.
It is my turn.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought Colfax said that we had the guest first. Is it
It's
my
after
turn?
you. Yep.
Right, okay. So, yeah, before Access, only had a couple of friends, and I don't know, and but then I started going to Access in 3rd grade, and I think that it changed. I wasn't like the weirdo anymore, because, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, we're all weirdos here. These past years have been, especially with the pandemic, it's been a journey but it's one that I'm glad to have been on with you all, and thank you to my classmates for how we've stuck together through all of this, even when COVID has forced us to be physically apart. Thank you to all the teachers and staff for, doing your jobs and being there and supporting us throughout the years. Thank you to all the parents as well, because you guys are important too. You help prepare, whether you've helped with like planning, or like volunteering for events, or just supporting kids, and just, yeah. And just thank you everyone for this wonderful community.
Good evening, Mrs. Taylor, staff, families, community members, and especially students of the class of 2025. I told you I'd be at your promotion ceremony, and I was very thankful to get the ask to actually speak tonight. For those of you who don't know me or don't know me well, I thought I should take a moment to explain why I teach middle school. I'm a peculiar person who does what I do because I absolutely love and completely enjoy teaching middle school. Most people I talk to about my job usually say, you couldn't pay me enough to do what you do, let alone teach middle school. If people knew how much we get paid, that we did this because we would end up rich and famous, they'd beat down the doors, truly. From the time I was in 6th grade, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. As I grew older, I knew I could be a teacher. I just had to figure out how to rein in my ADHD and other eccentricities. I had to figure out what it looked like to be an organized professional teacher. I've taught everything from 5th grade through master's degree students. But by the time I was teaching middle school full-time, I realized my eccentricities were what made me a good teacher, especially a middle school teacher. I could identify with my students and they with me. I stopped hiding the fact that I have an extreme case of ADHD, and I sought to make things in the classroom work for my students and for me. By the time this class met me, most of those things were seamlessly in place. A few days before the start of every school year at Access, there's always an ice cream social event. So students and families can come to the school, kids can put stuff in their lockers, get the lay of the land, possibly meet a couple of teachers. But when this class came for their ice cream social in 6th grade, they found the 6th grade language arts and social studies room locked, and the teacher was missing. The sign on the door said, "Do not enter." The windows were covered. If they stood near the door, students may have heard some grunting and shuffling noises as I was hammering away, trying to finish what I was doing. You see, it was the first class I could call my own and decorate the way I wanted to in many, many years. The year prior at Access had me teaching in Rose City Park in a basement room that measured 23 by 24 feet, and I had to fit 30 students, desks, a computer, and a projector all in that space. The few things I did put on the walls were torn off by backpacks, and I took them down because I didn't want them destroyed, and I had to take a minimalistic approach for the rest of that year. My first year at the Lane campus offered me the biggest room I've ever taught in. So I took advantage of the opportunity. It didn't hurt that my oldest son had just been working for a Regal movie theater either. When the class walked into the room for the first time on the actual first day of 6th grade, their eyes were assaulted by the actual overwhelming art and collector's items I've gathered from various superhero universes. There were posters from the Marvel Universe movies, from the DCEU movies, not to mention Disney posters depicting 2 different superhero universes, along with a few other lesser known superhero characters. I'd covered every inch of the walls that I could cover. An Incredibles movie beach towel was used as a desk skirt for my standing desk to hide the boxes of stuff I hadn't found a place to put away or display yet. On a shelf above the boxes sat my Pop Heroes collection of superhero figurines. My classroom library even fell into line with the theme. Each book supported superhero icon stickers on the spine, with each icon representing a specific genre, so students could easily find something they might like to read. The students were mesmerized. The first 2 weeks of 6th grade, as you could imagine, were a visual overload. I started the class the same way I've started class for over a decade. I asked students to fill out a survey with tidbits about themselves, while I shared the same tidbits about myself. I accidentally let it slip I was a superhero myself, telling students that I'd don a bald cap and a fat suit every day to stay incognito while working as a teacher. Realizing my slip, I begged them to keep my secret. So far, I've not been kicked out of the club, so it would seem that my secret's safe with them. And now hopefully with you too. Being an adult with extreme ADHD myself, I knew the risks of running a classroom with so much on the walls and shelves. I knew it could backfire, and I might need to return to the boring bliss of whitewashed walls. My teacher's intuition told me otherwise. I was being very intentional with my classroom design. It might not be evidently clear to everyone passing by, but there were many levels of reasoning to support the decor. It wasn't just because I love things superhero related, and it wasn't just because I wanted to bond with students over lack of similar interests. There are actually students in this class who don't give a fig about superheroes. That's okay, I still like them. In one corner, there was a 7-foot vinyl poster for Ant-Man and the Wasp, covered with scenes from the movie, with a standard size poster next to it that was nearly blank. In the center was a 2-by-2-inch picture of the movie's title characters in a sea of white space. I used those posters to teach juxtaposition. Throughout the 2 years I had the pleasure of working with this class, I wove the concept of what is a hero throughout the curriculum I was given in both language arts and social studies. They may not remember or realize what I was doing, but again, that's okay. One of my passions as a teacher is to help students identify real heroes to look up to and then live to be like those heroes. We had many wonderful times In the classroom, some moments we'd like to forget, those we wished we could, like the time when the two I've referred to in the past as the twins hid in my classroom and scared me as I walked by their hiding place. Just thinking about it makes my heart race. We studied ancient history and world mythologies together while reading the likes of Gary D. Schmidt, Gary Soto, Doug Reckenthaler, and Lisa Cron. I taught these students how to be interesting writers using very technical curriculum titled The Smiley Face Traits. In my second year, sadly, with only half the class, we studied medieval history and genocide. Talk about a heavy year. But through both years, there were many laughs, many projects, many presentations, and many rabbit trails that led to incredible lessons. By the way, students, did you see what I just did there? Many laughs, many projects, many presentations. Professionals do this. It's what I taught you. This class saw me transition from a widower with 3 boys to a married man. Since my wife and I were getting married during a school year, many students asked if they could attend. Since we were married on March 20th, 2020, we were one of the first Facebook stream weddings due to COVID, and many of these students turned in to watch and celebrate with me. When the opportunity for me to return to Jackson was presented to me, I told very few people, and those people, I made them swear they would not let it slip to the students that I was leaving. Having been married 3 days before the governor shut Oregon down for COVID, and knowing I would be moving quite a ways out into the farm country outside Beaverton and Hillsborough, I knew that my commute would double. I also knew I needed for myself to go back to teaching in an arts-focused school. It was a very difficult decision. And I knew if this specific class of students heard I was leaving before the end of the year, they would have begged me to stay, and I probably would have stayed. Thus, they couldn't find out until the last week of school. It was a bittersweet end. Having been online for the last third of the year, I didn't have to see their faces in real time. I greatly missed the flying squirrel hugs I received daily. One day at the beginning of 7th grade, while I was walking down the hall, I stopped when I heard my name being called loudly with the pitter-pat of running feet. Miss Taylor stopped and turned to watch the commotion. One lone student plowed right into me, wrapped his arms around me and hugged me. "Have a great day, Mr. Johnson," he said, and then he fled the other direction. "That was cute," Mrs. Taylor remarked. I sheepishly remarked, "He started doing that last year, in the middle of the year, every day, at least once, and it started a revolution. A few of the other boys in his class do the same." Knowing the world we live in and the concerns some would have, I started thinking about how to defend myself. But my new principal just said, "It's great to work in a school where kids know they're safe and the teachers are willing to be vulnerable." I was speechless. When school resumed after an extended 3-week spring break, I knew I would not be returning, having been offered the transfer while on my honeymoon. At the end of the year, it was easier to wave goodbye to students through a screen and then cry after hanging up. When I stopped crying, I asked my wife, did I just make a mistake? But we know, especially now, that I was supposed to be at Jackson this year. I'm forever grateful to Mrs. Ellis and my wife who scheduled an actual goodbye. My wife told me a couple of days after school ended that we were going to have a picnic at the zoo. Everything was closed. My kids and I wanted out of the car, and we were just going to sit in the zoo parking lot and have a picnic. If you know my wife, that's pretty normal. So I said, okay, let's go have a picnic. We decorated outside of the car as if we were at the beach, complete with balloons and flamingos. Sometimes you just don't ask why. When I sat down to eat is when I saw the cars. Thank you. Teachers aren't supposed to have favorites. We're looked down on for admitting we're human, that we prefer the company of our favorites. For me, this class will always I'm sorry. This class will always be my favorite class. I should have known the first day I met them. Morgan walked into class carrying a lunchbox with a red cross on it that stated human organ for transplant on the front. She was immediately followed by Knox, wearing a blue t-shirt that I saw him with tonight wearing. It's in the center of it is a giant rhinoceros, and the message, "Save the chubby unicorns," adorns the front of the shirt. I took a picture of both, and that was just my first day with this class. Teachers are supposed to teach. One of the things that makes us good teachers is our ability, or should I say willingness, to learn. This class taught me more than any class has ever or possibly ever will. Maybe even more than I've had the pleasure of teaching them. Before I met them, I was considering ending my career as a teacher and leaving the profession. I was tired. I was worn out. And then I met this class. They have taught me so much. They are all geniuses, you know, and I am forever indebted to this class, to you students, for those lessons. I can't count the number of times I've laughed so much I stopped breathing and turned a vivid shade of purple. Nor can I count the times I've wept in front of you. Tears of pain, tears of hope, tears of joy. I'll never forget walking through the room, reading about the death of a beloved character in a book we were reading your 6th grade year, and losing all ability to speak. I'm forever grateful that the incomparable and incredible Ms. Valerie Anderson decided to co-teach with me that day. She picked up a book and finished reading aloud the scene I could not, as if she'd been reading it aloud from the beginning. When I found my voice again and could talk about death and loss I'd experienced personally, you all listened and then added your own stories and lessons learned about losing someone you loved. In June 2020, while cleaning out my Access classroom, dealing with my own grief of leaving, I decided my last act would be to install hidden cameras around the room Mrs. Holtgren now calls her own. Kim, I must apologize for not telling you about the cameras. Miss Taylor told me I could leave them behind, albeit that conversation happened mere hours after her knee surgery, so I'm not sure how much of it she actually remembers. Now, students, because of those cameras, I've seen things this year, many things, too numerous to mention. Some have made me outright laugh. Some have made me tear up with pride, and some things, well, we'd all just like to forget. Something about the Communist Manifesto comes to mind. There are a couple of things of which I've learned from those cameras that I thought I'd mention about this past, albeit odd year, while I kept tabs on my favorite class. Milan, thank you for asking each candidate who was interviewed to take my place. Which do you prefer, DC or Marvel? I had to laugh. Apparently, I was leaving behind a cape to fill, not shoes. Oliver, you've tried to keep this class in line with your leadership skills. It's a tough job, and you've done it well. Yunji, the colored teal works great on you. Jenny, I've always known your artistry would win awards. Coral and Neve, you've continually proven yourself to be the kindest two humans to ever grace the halls of Access. Barrett, I'm sorry for forgetting about Girl Scout cookies this year. I hope you forgive me. And I hope you met your goal without me. Look me up next year. Oscar, kudos for learning Greek. The Olympians I taught you about are also pleased you want to describe in their native language. It was nice running into you at the Writers' Conference. I can't wait to read your book. There's another author among you, many really, who like to tell stories. Some of you even like to write them down, but one is going to be published soon, I predict. To the bicycle crew, you all know who you are. It was nice to see you pedaling around town while you tried to stay active during this pandemic, and seeing you as I drove by. Grant and Finian, keep making people laugh. Jackson, Milan, and Sorrel, and a few others have used my picture as either their background or Google icon picture. I'm truly honored. Ashley and AJ, I've always said it's the quiet ones to be fearful of. You've proved me right. Faye, I hope you've begun to see the artistic, athletic genius you've become, and I hope you let yourself enjoy those accomplishments. Leland, I hope you made it back from Canada and didn't get abducted by the person living in the abandoned house on the island. Sometimes I wonder if you're an incredible storyteller or just a super spy who has the most amazing experiences to talk about. Mrs. Taylor, now that this class has achieved the right to move on to high school, I should tell you that the Discord drama that would fill volumes of 4-inch 3-ring binders, the Minecraft trial that was adjudicated by members of the class, the video games played in different tabs while students were supposedly logged into class, all these things actually did happen. I have the transcripts to prove it. You can have them for their student files if you need them. One pardonable thing, though, stands out from the rest. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. That game is actually a wonderful lesson about an adorable young troublemaking turnip boy who avoids paying taxes, harvests crops, and battle massive beasts, all in an effort to fell a corrupt vegetable government. It reminds me of Animal Farm. Something tells me Annie could teach you how to play it if you need something to do in retirement. I wish I had the time to mention you all, each and every one. I've been waiting for the timer to go off and my screen to go black as I've been kicked out of class, per se. So I'll finish with this. Class, you've done well. I'm proud of who you've become, what you've accomplished. You're capable of besting the highest mountains and spelunking the deepest caves, real or proverbial. In 10 years, please look me up. I'd like to know what happened to you and where the winds of education have directed your case. Enjoy high school.
Thank you for that lovely speech, Mr. Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm crying. You'll always be the real hero. I had a whole, I kind of have I had this whole speech planned for this, but I just want to say Access has probably been one of the best things that has ever happened to me. It's helped me through a lot of things in my life. Originally, I came here thinking I was just some straight cisgender male and just some weirdo that no one liked, and Access has really helped me discover my identity. Now I know that I'm a queer, non-binary person, and I've made so many friends at this lovely school. I'm not gonna say my time here has been perfect. It's not. I've had my fair share of arguments, pieces of late work, assignments that have been hard to complete, fights, all verbal, none physical. And I haven't liked everyone that I've met. But Access has really helped me learn and grow as a person. I would never be who I was in 3rd grade. And I love this school for all it is. All the teachers I've met have been the nicest people on the planet. Miss McBride, Miss McKinnon, Dr. Garcia, Mr. Johnson have all been some of the best people I have ever met. And discussing all the political issues, what's going on currently in our world. The school has provided comfort to me in a time like this when I didn't think comfort would be possible. It's really taken a toll on me, the coronavirus, mentally, and all the people that I've met here have been there for me, and they've helped me through everything that I've needed help with. They've been such good friends. I've discovered myself, and last year I was elected by my fellow peers, my students, along with Coral, as an Access flag bearer. I by no means am what you would call an exemplary student. Like I've said, almost all of my assignments this year have been late. I always argue with the teachers. Some prefer to call it being inquisitive, but we all know I'm just contradictory. That's just who I am. But I don't think I deserve this position. I think that all of my classmates do, for making the school such a welcoming space. I hardly see any fights going on ever. And it's just a wonderful school. But this year, I'll be, well, not me, but Coral will be presenting 3 new Access flag bearers who have been nominated by their fellow classmates because they were such exemplary students. They've been inquisitive, kind, caring. They've made the school a better place. So thank you to all of you, and on to Coral to present our 3 new Access flag bearers from the 7th grade.
My name is Coral Platt, and as the other 8th grade flag bearer, I have the honor of introducing the 2021-2022 Access flag bearers. The first flag bearer is described by her peers as an inclusive, helpful, friendly, and funny person who is also a great artist. She makes her classes more lively and engaging and asks questions that the class is too scared to ask. Our first flag bearer is Alex Buckley. Sorry.
It's fine.
Our next flag bearer is someone who her peers call thoughtful, inclusive, kind, and helps others be the best versions of themselves. She is a great leader and is outspoken about her opinions. She is also an active participant in classes and clubs and actually created a club this year, the Access Feminist Union. Our second flag bearer is Josie Gervais. Last but certainly not least is a person who is described by his peers as funny, inclusive, and hardworking. He is always willing to talk with anyone. He bolsters the learning of everyone else by asking questions and helping people with their homework. Our third flag bearer is Kieran Cowell-Shaw.
Thank you.
Alex, Josie, and Kieran, I hope that you will keep inspiring your classmates and continue using your leadership skills to make sure everyone is included. Please briefly unmute yourselves to give Alex, Josie, and Kieran a hand.
Now we have a speech from Marvin Sloan.
Thank you, Mr. Harkness. Sorry, while I'm ready to deliver my speech. Fellow Adams, when I volunteered to speak at this promotion ceremony, I didn't know what I'd say. I wanted to say something meaningful without saying something cheesy. I wanted to say something truly inspiring, but not dull. It's hard to write a speech that is appropriate and doesn't sound superficial, but I'll try. Let me begin by telling you my own story. 3 short years ago, a student named Max Novash walked into Access Middle School not knowing what to expect from a program designed for struggling intellectually gifted students. He had heard Access was an elite school for the very, very gifted, and he felt it was his honor to boast it to everyone. Young and naive, he struggled through the first 2 years searching for his true self, and then found it quite unexpectedly when he learned to embrace his own quirky aesthetic. He couldn't have done it without Access. Look at him now. He's grown and changed and become what that 6th grader never could have imagined. He's standing right in front of you, proudly affecting an Access green bow tie and green tinted glasses. This school can do incredible things to you. Let me share an anecdote. 3 months ago, I was in Wisconsin getting OCD treatment at a clinic called Rogers Behavioral Health. I had a pair of black aviator goggles that I wore with a red bow tie every day. The clinicians and other patients did not approve of my quirky style of dress. They said if I wanted to be popular, I would have to conform. I explained to them that I didn't want to be popular and that one day I would find my niche. They couldn't understand why I would sacrifice my relationships in favor of bizarre clothing. Now I wear goggles and a bow tie almost every day to school, and the people at Access love it. They embrace my nerdiness. But I'm not here to talk about me. I'm one example of a person who's made great changes in life from the help of this school. I've shared my story. Now let me share the very similarly inspiring story of a friend who benefited from Access, with his permission, of course. Last year, this friend went through a difficult personal change, and Mr. Harkness, our wonderful school counselor, offered his invaluable support. With a little help from Access, my friend reinvented himself. These are only 2 stories of Access alumni, and they both touch on this theme of Renaissance. Our school has helped countless adolescents and their families through these uncomfortable years. Adolescence is a difficult time for us all. We find ourselves on the brink of adulthood, and yet we are still emerging from childhood. Many of us want to explore secret adult concepts that have been kept hidden from us. Some choose to express their sensual feelings in offensive ways. We try to find ourselves. We test unfamiliar waters. Sometimes the current pulls us in and we have to struggle back to shore. We want to stand out, and yet we look for humanity in others. We learn through hard experience that 1 in a million of us will make the smallest mark on the universe. We learn that food and fashion are not the only tenets of a happy life. We learn that the key to happiness is not to impose our views, however right they may be, on others. It is to accept and let be. I have witnessed the most toxic school culture, and I'm happy to say that Access plays no part in it. Community is a silly word, but the students here at Access have built one. It's a striking community of intellectually gifted students who are still learning and testing the water. The most wonderful thing is that we recognize we are all works in progress. We have all made mistakes and learned from them and learned to forgive each other. And now, as we move on to the next stage in life, we must prepare for new challenges. But I have absolute confidence that we, as proud Access alumni, will overcome them. I am your friend and fellow student, M.W. Sloan.
Thank you so much, Marvin.
Thank
Now
you.
we have a very special sing-along portion of the promotion ceremony. And for that, we will be getting some assistance from a our longest running Access volunteer, Miss Jane Ann Peterson. So if you need the lyrics to this song, you can find them in the YouTube chat. And hopefully you can sing along loud and proud.
arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen and rhenium, and nickel, neodymium, neptunium, germanium, and iron, americium, ruthenium, uranium, neurobium, zirconium, lutetium, vanadium, and lanthanum, and osmium, and astatine, and radium, and gold, and protactinium, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium. There's yttrium, ytterbium, actinium, rubidium, and boron, gadolinium, niobium, iridium, and strontium, and silicon, and silver, and samarium, and bismuth, bromine, lithium, beryllium, and barium. There's holmium, and helium, and hafnium, and erbium, and phosphorus, and francium, and fluorine, and terbium, and manganese, and mercury, molybdenum, magnesium, dysprosium, and scandium, and cerium, and cesium, and lead, praseodymium, and platinum, plutonium, palladium, promethium, potassium, polonium, and tantalum, technetium, titanium, tellurium, and cadmium, and calcium, and chromium, and curium. There's sulfur, californium, and ferrium, berkelium, and also mendelevium, einsteinium, nobelium, and argon, krypton, neon, radon, xenon, zinc, and rhodium, and chlorine, carbon, cobalt, copper, tungsten, tin, and sodium. Since 1959, we've added copernicium, fluorubium, lawrencium, organison, magnerium, moscovium, rentgenium, seaborgium, nihonium, and borium, plus tennessine and hassium, and also livermorium. And then there's rutherfordium, and dupnium, darmstadtium. If others get discovered, we'll just have to keep on adding them.
Yay! Janan, could you say just really briefly how you started teaching that song at Access? Because I know that I didn't say this before, but that song sort of became a school anthem when you started teaching it to the choir classes that you taught for Access.
Yeah, I think it was shortly after Access became a separate school with its own administrator, which happened in our second year in 2007, and they named the mascot as the Adams. And I'm like, the Adams? I happen to know this song about the periodic table. And so that I said to the then principal, I said, I think we need to make this our school song. And they said, okay, let's do it. So it's ever since then, it has been our school song. And we always sang it at all the choir concerts at the end of the year, and everyone got to learn it.
Yeah.
We had the Elements challenge for the new students to memorize the lyrics, and then if they made it by Halloween, I would give them a dozen homemade donuts.
Nice. So good. Thank you, Jane Ann, for all of your
memorize the lyrics.
15 years of service to the Access community or something like that. Is that right? 15?
It has been a pleasure. Every minute.
So Jane Ann's last Access student is about to move on to high school after being an Access parent for the entire lifespan of the program.
Not quite.
What? Almost, right?
I think I missed 3 years, but yeah.
Okay. A big hand for Jane Ann Peterson. Yay. The last part of our Access promotion tonight is the infamous slideshow. Before we proceed, big thanks to Adri Bryman for putting this show together. Here we go. Yay! Now on to the presentation of the grade students who are being promoted to high school.
Yippee!
To do that is Kim Heltgren.
Hi, everyone. 8th graders, soon to be 9th graders. Before I announce your names for one last time as an Access class of 8th graders, I was going to say a few quick words, but everyone before me has said them so eloquently and kind of said everything I wanted to say. So I do just want to add one last thing though, and that is when I came to Access 3 years ago, I had a small handful of you in that 6th grade social studies class, and I knew I was going to be teaching talented and gifted kids, and you are certainly that, but you are so much more, and your talents and gifts go so far beyond a reading or math test score. You have shown me that you are incredibly talented and gifted artists and scientists and musicians and creative thinkers and historians and beyond. So I'm so proud of all of you. One last thing is to top it all off, you all have just huge hearts for social justice. You're genuinely kind kids, and you're incredibly resilient. And we as a staff are very, very proud of all of you. And we are your biggest fans as you go forward into this next adventure in life. So with that, I'm going to say everyone's names. You can all turn on your cameras as I say your names, but we'll hold our group applause for everyone till after we have read, or after I've read everyone's names, so that we can get through all of them. So feel free to turn on your camera, and then we'll do one big giant cheer for everyone. We've got Nate Baldwin, Dustin Burke, Hugo Bernice, Adri Bryman, Jack Burrell, Abby Chase, Jackson Chaddock, Jenny Chen, Milan Cunningham, Oliver de Betancourt, Richard Dang, Baxter Ellis, Neve Erdman, Ginger Fahey, Mats Fisher, Nick Hance, Yunji Hatfield, Jackson Irvine, Cara Jameson, Sophie Roche, Charlie Jennings, Sorrel Johnson, Oscar Jones, Declan Koch, Morgan Kubler, Lewis McClelland, Brennan McEwen, I couldn't miss you, Danica Morris, Grant Morrison, Liz Newen, Ryan Newen, Barrett Olson, Knox Orchard, Lauren Unifom, Coral Platt, Piper Powell, Finn Ronta, Ashley Reed, Madison Reed, Colfax Richard, Chandri Shore, Marvin Sloan, Fair Soul Reeves, Annie Stewart, Leland Sturgeon, Tyler Van, Lucy Warren, Antalia Williamson, Elliot Wright, and Faye Zing. Yay! Everyone turn on your cameras and let's give a big round applause. You can turn on your microphones and yippee!
We did it! Yeah, let's go!
Yay!
We
My camera's
have survived!
I'm the last student to do it. I still have homework to do.
Yeah, I do too.
Me too. We all have
Stay up all night
school
doing
tomorrow.
A lot
of
work
to do, I think.
Well, I mean, you've already graduated, so we just throw it into the
Wait, is the live stream still on, people?
Oh, it is? Oh no.
Mr. Harkness, you gonna turn that off?
I'm
You're Everybody put their passwords in the chat.
Like everybody
see the
spammed their
chat.
social security numbers.
chat,
So-
but we're
Social
so-
security.
Carry numbers in the
I feel
chat.
like Mr. Hartman is gonna
See
make
the chat. That would be a problem because we've been saying a lot of things in the
So
chat.
thank you everybody for being here. Thank you all for your speeches, for the hard work you have put into making this ceremony happen. And thank you for all the hard work you've put into making our school the awesome place that it is, because it would not be the place that it is.
Yeah,
without you
Milan
all.
actually, but Milan's I think leaving PPS, so it's
So
So
now we are going to end the live stream, and we are going to have just all of you can stay here, but we're going to end the live stream. So thank you all for all of the parents out there who supported you all throughout this whole crazy past year and past 8 years or however long you have been an Access student. It has been a journey. Goodbye, live stream.
Hi, parents.
Bye, parents. You don't
Guys,
need
turn off the
you don't get
Teachers
it,
and
parents.
Hi,
Bye.
parents.
Enjoy.
We're also
Bye.
this.
You're
Live
going
stream
parents
ending in
too.
5.